I'm servicing this Breitling top time, which is a vintage Venus 175 chronograph movement. So naturally, first I have to remove the movement from the case. And I'll start by removing the winding stem. Now I can remove the screws that hold the movement to the movement ring. And now I can remove the movement ring. And so the movement can literally just come out of the case right now. And I'm going to replace the winding stem. Now I can remove the hands. To remove the dial, there are two screws around the edge of the movement, and these are opposite each other. They don't have to be removed completely, they can just be loosened enough to remove the dial. And now I'm gently prising the dial away from the movement. I say gently because the dial is made of a very thin piece of metal, and therefore it would be quite easily bent or misshapen. Also, the dial feet are at risk of breaking off, so extreme care has to be taken when prising the dial away from the movement. So here we are now with the keyless work and the motion work exposed. Now we're going to leave the keyless work in place, but right now we can remove the hour wheel and the cannon pinion. Before removing any of the chronograph components, it's advisable to release any tension or remove any of the springs that are putting tension onto the chronograph components.
Yeah, that's right. She needs to complete her functional skills. Yeah, or even a bit early because there's a fair bit.
And so as not to confuse the screws with each other, it's useful to place the screw back into its screw hole, not to drive them all the way home tight, but just enough so that we know where they go.
I'll come about 6, yes.
So now with the springs removed, we can start dismantling the rest of the chronograph. And so this is the coupling clutch. It's held down with one shouldered screw, not to be confused with this. What I'm pointing at is called an eccentric. It's not a screw. And remove the shouldered screw, and then you can lift the part away from this eccentric. Now the eccentric, again I said, is not a screw. It actually governs the pitch between the two wheels that you can see in view here. So just to illustrate, this is the shouldered screw I've just unscrewed, and I'm removing that. And I can just lift it away. It's pivoting on this eccentric. if the eccentric is turned, then more work has to be done when reassembling the watch to calibrate the pitch. And so now to remove the operating lever, which again is secured by a shouldered screw. So here we have the flyback lever and its spring. So first I'm removing the flyback lever spring before removing the flyback lever. I'm using my pegwood to bridge over both of them so that neither part pings across the bench. I'm now removing the hammer. So now to remove the chronograph runner, which is the center wheel, and the minute recording runner. So now I'm going to remove the chronograph runner rest here, and notice underneath there's an unusual spring which acts against both the chronograph runner rest and the sliding gear. And of course now I can remove the sliding gear. And so now I'm removing the hammer bolt. This plate can now be removed, which is held down by 2 screws. So now I'm ready to remove the pillar wheel. And of course this is the pillar wheel spring. To remove the driving wheel, we usually use this special tool, which has 3 jaws. The tool goes through the wheel spokes, and the brass parts, when you depress the tool, will press against the watch plate, and the jaws will lift the wheel away from the watch. However, the Venus 175 does not have a lot of material underneath the driving wheel, and so the brass parts of the tool will have nothing to push against. So in this case I'm going to use a pair of hand levers to gently and very carefully lift the wheel. Extreme care must be taken when lifting this wheel, because it sits on the 4th wheel on an extended pivot, and that pivot is very easily bent or even broken. Now, before removing the driving wheel, the escapement must be removed, and by escapement what I mean is the balance and the pallets. If these components are not removed before attempting to remove the driving wheel, then it's quite possible that the activity that you'll be generating on that driving wheel, what I mean is, the movement of it going to and fro, could actually damage the pallet stones, because you could be forcing the escape wheel to knock against the pallet stones. Now the pallet stones are quite brittle, and so you want to reduce that risk, and to reduce that risk it is best to remove the balance and the pallets altogether. And not forgetting, before removing the pallets, we should let any remaining power out of the mainspring. So here we are. I'm using a rather large pair of hand levers to gently prise the driving wheel away from the fourth wheel pivot. And extreme care must be taken to make sure it comes up straight and true, with no bend whatsoever. And so all the components for the chronograph are actually now removed. So in part 2 we'll continue to strip down the watch movement. So thank you for watching and see you next time.